Hello gamers, this is Zox here, and in this video I would like to help you make a more educated choice in which temporary deck to pick. If you're a new player, you might not know, and you're new to Shadowverse, you might not know what any of these decks do or how they play, and I'm here to help give you insight so you can make the best one for you. So, before we get into the decks, if you're new to the channel or new to Shadowverse in general, do leave a like and a subscribe, it really helps the channel grow. And with that out of the way, let's get started with the temporary decks. But I'm going to preface with this. If you come into Shadowverse with a very clear idea of which class you are going to play, I highly recommend you pick that class. It is best that you play with the deck class that you enjoy playing with the most, rather than the top meta one. Even though I will say winning does feel really good. So if you're not the type that plays for fun but plays for wins, well, stick around for a bit longer. Next up, I would like you to check which legendaries you already have in your roster. I ideally recommend that you get the temporary deck with the most from the class with which you have the most legendaries from. So let's say you have 3 blood legendaries, abyss legendaries, I suggest you take the abyss deck. Or if you're 3 dragon legendaries, take the dragon deck, or vice versa. If you don't have any legendaries from that class, try not to pick the deck, because the more legendaries you have, the more likely you are to be closer to a complete deck. It will really help you out in the future, so you don't have to craft any additional legendaries, and you only really have to focus on getting the goals, which is more key to a full deck completion. But let's say you don't have any legendaries from any class, from baseline starting from 0, free to play, no other cards. Which deck is the best for you? And I'm going to start off with Swordcraft. This Officer Swordcraft is, in my opinion, the best and cheapest deck for free-to-play players to pick up. And it's very simple to play, it's very straightforward, and it just plays like any aggro/mid-range deck. Of course, this deck is missing some key cards like another 2 copies of Zirconia and obviously Albert Levin's Stormsaver. But in my opinion, when I play this deck, on at least my budget version, I rarely even need Albert to finish off games, although he would have been very appreciated in some matchups. As an aggro/mid-range class, that is very board based, it loses horribly to any deck with decent board control. We are talking Haven, Portal, or any deck that runs Apollo. When you first get this deck, there are a few certain cards that I suggest that you cut. First of all, Ian Lovebound Knight, just not that great. Looking in the long term of things, she's decent, but with a slight step buff. But you rather guys that in your early game you want cards that either summon other followers or are guaranteed to hit face. Cards like Ernesta Peacehawker is also not ideal. She is good into an existing board, but more often than not, if you're facing a good opponent, you're not going to have a board to actually buff, and running 3 copies of Ernesta is simply too heavy. Nightly Rending is also not ideal. It is you basically get rid of one of your opponent's follower and summon a knight. But for 4 play points, you can do so much more than just this. I don't recommend running this card at all. The rest of the deck looks fine. Geno, although I haven't run this card myself, I find his overall stats and what he brings to the table very appealing. He removes 2 followers for free and also summons 2 knights, which is decent. Not the worst that you can be doing on turn 7. And there's also Amalia Luxsteel Paladin. Really good card in general, especially if you're going to the late game trying to survive for your final Albert turn. She is pretty necessary. So what are some of the cards that you should be looking to replace this deck with? Let me show you my current budget list, which I'm running. Also with 1 Albert, you can actually honestly remove it. I ran 2 Ancestral Crown. Ancestral Crown buffs all followers that enters the field by +1/+1. If you can combine it with a Luminous Magus or a Zirconia, it is really strong. Like ridiculously strong. And you should also be looking for at Shinobi Squirrel. Shinobi Squirrel has Ambush, which basically guarantees that it hit face unless your opponent has random targeting or a board wipe. Val Silent Sniper is also incredible since it just removes a follower for free while also developing a card. And if you enhance it gains Ambush and almost guarantees to hit face the turn after. On my high end, you could see that I run some very odd choices. Don't worry about that. this is the high end is fairly flexible in this deck. Your early game is what matters the most. I run Ravening Tentacle because it's funny. You can think of it as a Pyroblast that goes face. It just does 5 damage to enemy leader. It could win you games, it could not. I just run it because I find it funny. It has, all the times I drawn it though, it has won me the game. So like, that's saying something. Then Centurion, just a budget option to go Storm and go face on turn 8 if your opponent doesn't play any war and you have a Super Evolve. This is a 10 damage Storm, which is basically half their health. They are basically dead going forward. And yes, I do run Way of the Maid. This is just for me to unbreak just in case I do draw any of this early game. I don't have a good play to make. Don't worry if you have better cards. This is one of the first cards you can cut. But generally, from that list, you should try to move to this budget version of the list as soon as possible. And going forward, you should try to get more copies of Albert, and then ideally get some copies of Amelia, which is also a pretty good card. But once again, the legendaries are necessary for this deck, which is what I believe Swordcraft is. In fact, if you have no legendaries, nothing, first experience, pick Officer Sword. It is really, really that good. So, after Officer Sword, which deck should you get? In my opinion, after Officer Sword, you should be looking at Pixie Forest. It's a slightly more harder card to play, but if you are on a budget, this deck is actually basically half complete. I'm not kidding. This deck is basically half complete. You ideally only ever need 2 legendaries, which is 2 Aria Lady of the Woods, and more copies of Killer Rhinoceros, and this deck is almost ready to function, which is really surprising, isn't it? This is the second most free to play option after Swordcraft. But the difficulty spikes a lot. But it is also a very rewarding deck to play. So what some key cards I should be looking to get more of? Killer Rhinoceros. This is the cheapest win condition we have so far, and for gold is really, really good, especially if you can play alongside some fairies and bounce it. Next card is great for Dragonwood Ward. This card is also really good. It draws 2 and basically wipes any board that comes out on turn 5 or turn 6, or even turn 4. But yes, good in the middle game, good in the late game. You should get more copies of this, and also maybe 1 or 2 copies of Lily Crystalline Innocence. I run 2 copies of this card since I only have 2 copies, and she's decent, she's good. You can use her to remove any big follower, or even use her as a draw if necessary. She's ideal for the state. I don't know if I want to cut her as of now, but as of right now in day 2, I find her pretty decent, so you might want to keep her around. Here are some cards you want to cut from this exact list. Cut 1 copy of Erin. You don't need 3 copies. She's too heavy for a 3 drop. For 3 copies of it, you only want 2. And also maybe cut a little bit down on Baby Carbuncle. I know cutting bounce from your Forestcraft deck doesn't seem ideal, but I find 2 play point too awkward and too heavy to play at certain times, and she doesn't have any immediate keyword that helps her on the field, helps it on the field. So when you bounce something, you're typically trading out something. You're losing too much tempo from playing this. You rather just play Bug Alert. And also, let me see. Cut Fragrant Wood Whispers. Drawing 1 card for 3 is just not good enough. It doesn't even matter that you got the 0 play point. Just don't play this. That card's absolute dog water. And also cut a Elder Sage Brush. Is just a worse version of Glade. Glade is just better, and Glade is probably more than enough for you for any of your needs. So this is the deck list you should probably work towards. This is my combo deck list. If you have this, you see 2 Arias. I've been running this to great success. You may see there's an Amatas here, but don't worry, he's actually not the most important card in the deck, funnily enough. It's just a better starter 3 drop follower. I could honestly cut this and it will make no difference to the deck. And you see there's another rare that it wasn't in the beginner deck. It's got Wood Staff. This is really good, especially when you can pair it with Killer Rhinoceros. If you can get 1 down on turn 3, it makes your OTK turn a lot easier. And yes, as you can see, I've cutted Carbuncle and all some of those useless cards of the deck. But I would have mentioned though, even though I said to cut at least 1 copy of Erin, I would recommend at least still running 2 copies of her. She's really good, especially if you get into the late game. Your opponent started super evolving. She can clear out 1 follower for Super Evolve follow for basically free. And that's honestly just good enough to justify running her. She has single-handedly won me quite a number of games into matchups that I would not have otherwise won. Simply because of her stat line, as well as the fact that she can just get rid of her Super Evolve follower for free. So yes, aim something for something according to this list, but with more killer rhinoceroses, and you have a fairly semi-decent deck that can get you all the way up to D3. So yes, and then going up from that, it gets a little bit more difficult from here on out. It really depends on how many legendaries you have, but I would recommend Artifacts Portal. Here's mainly because I think Artifact Portal is really good at controlling the board right now. It's at a very good state, and also Raumia. If you can get another copy of Raumia, she is a very good win condition in and of her own. But don't worry, the inbuilt win condition in Artifact isn't actually Raumia. It's actually just the pure value you get from the Artifact followers, especially Gamma. Gamma is really good into a lot of decks right now. It stops most sword decks. It stops most abyss decks if they are running aggro. Basically any aggro / mid-range deck, you just drop Gamma. Gamma will be good enough to get you all the way until you can probably drop a Masterwork Artifact Omega. Do note that this deck is slightly complicated to play. There is a lot you need to plan around, and from this list you're missing quite a couple of cards. Amulet, two copies of Amulet and 2 copies of Miriam. But overall it looks pretty complete. You're also missing 2 copies of Raumia obviously, and also a legendary called UD. Ancient Cannon is pretty good. I run it at 1 copies. Occasionally I think it's just good enough to drop it on 5 since it can help you clear a lot of wards, but it's not necessary to run this card. You can probably cut Dirk. Dirk is not that great. And you can probably cut Lovestruck Puppeteer. Lovestruck Puppeteer, although good, there are better puppet cards to run in my opinion that offers more value. Bullet from Beyond is also a little bit heavy. You might consider cutting this down to 1 or 2 copies. And now I will show you my current list. I don't actually have a list, I believe, actually, considering how it plays, but this is the current list that I run. As you can see, I added in some cards. Medical grade assassin is a viable upgrade path since to give any puppetry follower Bane, and it's just a general good board clear. And also Sylvia, Garden Executioner. This card is really good on Super Evolve turns. This is an unconditional either a heal or a draw through, and it can destroy 3 followers. This is a really good card. I suggest everyone, if you can, try to find 3 copies of her as soon as possible. And also 2 Ancient Cannons, as you can see. These 3 rares are basically all you need to probably survive until the late game. And the rest are all artifact generators to help fully get you enough cards. Once you get enough copies of Raumia, I believe can cut Bullet from Beyond, the most heavy card in this deck. And also maybe 1 copy of Ancient Cannon. And then if you get UD, you can start cutting cards like maybe, I would say, Stream of Life. Stream of Life feels like the most inconsequential one to cut. The rest or at least have some utility. Stream of Life feels like probably the worst one out of all the ones here by far. But yes, that's if you decide to go the artifact route, and that is honestly still a solid deck because the win condition isn't tied down to the legendary. So going past that, we have Puppet Portal. I honestly, even though they are both on Portal, this one is a little, I think I actually wouldn't suggest this really for those with no legendaries. And the very simple reason why is because Octris is your win condition. Only having 1 of her isn't ideal. 2 of her is more manageable, but you really want to have 3. If you can find 3 copies of Octris, then you're in such a good spot. You will be so happy to be playing Puppet Portal. I'll be honest, I haven't been seeing it on ladder lately, and neither have I tried it out for myself. But I honestly, Puppet, it has a very good easy time controlling the board through all their disposable followers from all these cards. As you can see, more often than not, you should not be leaving any followers left on board for your opponent to trade attack into your face. So, but really running one copy of Orchis doesn't really sit well with me. But so here, looking at this list, there are definitely some cards you can cut. Goblin Foray and definitely has to go. These two had no reason to be here and really shouldn't. They have no place in the artifact in a puppet portal deck. Rudy I don't really like, considering he's just a 2/2 cycle. Shuffle your hand a little bit. Probably there are better cards you can probably run, and also Seraphic Tidings, a little bit low tempo. I'm not certain. I'm half on this right now. Maybe you can cut it, but let me just quickly make a budget portal list that you can probably work towards. So obviously just straight up just type in give me a second. I didn't even spell it right because that's how smart I am. So 3 all medicine grade is essential. All the low end is basically bolted. Puppet Shield is also really good. So is Noah, 3 copies of Octrees, and 3 copies of Leon is fair enough, I believe. And then if you look for filler cards, Dia is really good. Leah is really good. Sylvia is really good. You could probably run 3 copies of her. And then if you need something else to like just tide through the turns, I'm not impartial to suggesting a mixture of artifact package if you really want to survive through the late game. So maybe like some of the more valuable ones, like this one that immediately gives you an artifact, as well as also let me just see, maybe one or 2 copies of Raumia in case you don't draw your Octrees. And then you can go for sort of a hybrid mix, which is fair enough, which is okay, it's decent. It's decent enough that to get you to where you want to be. So maybe there are situations where Mecha Harbor is good though. So maybe something like this, maybe you cut even 1 copy of, maybe actually, you know what, completely, I don't know about the artifact package honestly, but some of the artifact cards are pretty decent. So those are definitely cards you can consider running just to help you tide you to your Octrees. Maybe definitely not Ramya now that I think about it. So probably like Aluet. Aluet is fine. Aluet is fine, especially if you can get a Gamma down. So maybe something like this. Something like this is what you ideally want to work towards. I mean, obviously, I didn't add in Yuri because that would be like another legendary you have to add in on top of everything. But like overall, like this is solid enough. You have a win condition and you have the cards that get you there. So this, if you want to play Puppet Portal, you should be looking at something like this. So yeah, that's the Puppet side done. Honestly, right, well, to be fair, I don't know why I went over that one. That one should be one of the last ones I go over. But in fact, I should have gone over Ram Dragon first. This deck is actually a lot better in my opinion, but also very bad in some sense, because there's a lot of deck cards here that I would never run. For example, I'll preface this by saying Gayu is an incredible card. If you have more copies of Gayu, just run him. He's really good, especially with this card gives you like 4 ramp already. You're missing only 2 from Liu Feng. You can get those. Well, then it really doesn't matter what other cards you run here. You can get rid, and then you just go straight for your big finishers. But this list currently runs a lot of useless cards. Battle Fort Dragon Keeper is really bad. Zaha is never worth it in my opinion. Silver Cloud Dragon Rider is also never. I saw it drop against me twice. Never did anything useful. White Scale Herald, useful in occasional scenarios. I don't recommend running it. And Calamity's Wrath, a bit heavy at 3, probably drop it down to 2, and also just cut Kid completely. It doesn't see a place in this deck at all. So, what should you be somewhat looking for? Well, I do have a budget list for Dragon, which I'm making here. This is a more Intimidate Dragon. You should be looking to add in Draconic Berserker. This is a silver card that is really strong in Dragon matchups. And also Apollo for Swarm decks. Dragon is really weak to tempo, so if you can Dragon is really weak to Swarm, so if you can find Apollo, he will help you survive a lot. Marion is, I left it at 2 since it doesn't make sense to run. He's a buffer. It doesn't make sense to run too many copies of him. And well, obviously Liufeng as well as Dragon Sign has to be at 3 since they are ramp. And our big finishers are Stomps. Warrior of the Dead does 6. Genesis Dragon Reborn is just 12 damage. Obviously, not these cards, you get Garu from the temporary deck, so use it. You get Twilight Dragon, that's an incredible board clear, use it. And let me see what other cards that you should be paying attention to from the temporary deck for Dragon. Yeah, just basically these two. And these two, this one, and this one, and this one. So this early setup plus the late game and game pieces. Basically anything in the middle is almost unplayable. But those cards are almost generally good enough for you to win games on their own. So yes, definitely get more copies of Garu. If you can get of some Forte, she'll be incredible as well. But overall, this is really rely on Garu, but Garu, so if the more often you draw into him, the happier you are playing Dragon. So yes, honestly, really putting it behind like the artifact portal. Next up are, I believe, the Runecraft as well as the Abysscraft decks, and there's also Amulet Haven. Honestly, I'll quickly go over Haven real quick, simply because I think it's bad. Don't pick this class. Honestly, this is very expensive class. Why? You need 3 copies of John. John is way too good to not be at 3 copies all. And also, Haven is in that weird spot where, okay, I played against some Haven. I saw some of their game plan. I still don't know how it functions. Basically, you just control the game until you get to a big Griffin, and then you super evolve it and your opponent could not clear it. So maybe if you look at that, this list isn't that bad. You just control and wait until you get there. But it's definitely missing a lot of cards. Just to show you some of the cards that I'm missing, I'll just quickly bring up my budget Haven this year. For example, Unholy Vessel, really good card. You should be running 3 copies of this in your Haven deck. It basically just nukes the board whenever you want it to, which is for free after you set them on turn 6. And it's just really good. Those of Holiness is also really good. Iron Fist Priest is also a card that you should want to get more copies of. And apart from that, I honestly really don't know where the developers intend to bring this deck to. Like, it's most probably your best play, right, will probably be to set up some amulets to go all pop on the same turn as you're gonna play your John, and that is gonna more than likely gonna win you the game, especially if you have been playing Haven correctly. But there are some cards here that I will consider cutting. Feather 4 isn't that great of a card in my opinion. Skullfane has some utility, but more often than not it happens when I saw it play against me a couple of times. It has won 10 games, but it usually happens so late into the game, and it was on day 1 where I was still experimenting with decks, so I expect this card to see less play as the longer the expansion goes on, so you can probably cut that. My Ace sucks here, it doesn't do anything, so just cut it. It doesn't even do anything even if you resummon the 6-drop amulet, it just destroys itself. It's not worth it. Sacred Griffin, a bit heavy, I might cut it down a little bit. And the rest of the deck looks fine. The early game leans a little bit more to tempo rather than anything else. So maybe I don't see anyone running main U honestly, and Dark Nordic Urban Grace, maybe specific decks. Amulet is in a weird spot. I don't exactly know how to play or build it, so I really can't give any more recommendation than this. But that's basically my insight. Like, just control until just play control. Just make sure you survive until the turn you win. That's basically Haven in a nutshell. I apologize if you wanted more, but that's my opinion of Haven right now. So yes, so now let's talk about Abysscraft first. Abysscraft is also abysmal. There's a couple of cards here that you really want to cut. Cards like Yuna, cards like Blood, and funny enough, those two are the only ones that I can look right off the bat. I say you cut them. Those aren't good cards. This Blood does nothing. It's just a worse version of Erin, and Yuna is just a worse version of Series and Mukun. It sucks, honestly. It really sucks. I'm a Shadow main, man, from in the old Shadowverse, and now I'm playing Abyss. I'm basically the Abyss main now, but my Abyss sucks and doesn't do anything, so I can't really main a class that doesn't do anything on day one, can I? I mean, I can. But apparently, I just, for the sake of getting out content, I can. So yeah. But first, what cards you should upgrade, get more copies of? Definitely more copies of Ultra, Cerise, and Mukan, and also more copies of Cerberus. Those are the obvious ones. Card Yuna, card Blood, and what other cards you can slot in? Let's show you right now. Do I have a budget Abyss list? I did not. Whoops. Give me a quick second, and you'll quickly copy it over from my current deck list. You know what's the funny thing is, the budget Abyss variant is just another aggro deck. So theoretically, you don't even need a legendary. I just made it this way because I don't have the legendary. But yes, yes, this card is really good. Balto Dust Bounty Hunter just simply does so much damage. Just add him to the deck. He's really good. This is the aggro version. You can see quite a couple of cards. There's also Mistress of Fang as well as Amorous Necromancer, which is my 4-drop. I cut the healing versions because this version just want to kill faster. So yeah, I believe the one that was temporary deck is actually more of a control version. In which case, these cards are still cards you want to add, like Reach of the Serpents is really good as a extender or finisher. And then also Balto, just good in general, but this is the aggro list. Maybe if you want to go for this list, go ahead, feel free to. This is budget after all for my budget video that's gonna upcoming. But if you pick the actual list, you probably don't need to soup this low to a budget list. This is because I just want to try out as many classes as possible. But yeah, Abyss not recommended. But if you want to, more copies of Cerberus. I mean, your ideal game plan, right, is you have at least 2 guys survive on turn 8, or you have like a Shadow Crypt Memorial. There's something on board. You engage it, summon Cerberus to and give all followers +2/+0, and then you Mimi Coco right hand, left hand, and you eventually do around 11 damage burn on turn 8, which is decent. You just need more copies of Cerberus. So yeah, that's Abyss in a nutshell. Wondering why I said to keep Darksteel Demon? Well, it's a worse version of Glade. So it's like a worse version of Glade. Like Glade is just strictly better, and Darksteel Demon is strictly worse. But considering the lack of draw in Worlds Beyond, right, I feel like I have a feeling you might need it. So like, you may cut this down a little bit. You don't need that many copies, but like, if you ever want to find yourself running low on draw, just consider slotting this back in. Like, Soul Predation is good, but now that it's 2 play points, it feels so much worse than Soul Conversion from normal Shadowverse. But yeah, not recommended, but if you do, you know what to do. And last but not least is the Runecraft decks. I left them for last because I frankly think they're the least free to play, because I believe you need more than just 3 copies of 1 legendary. This decks that probably works best if you have more than 3. For example, Anangria is the main condition here. She's really good on her own, don't get me wrong. You play her on 5, and more often than not, your opponents can deal with you. But she kind of needs another extender to finish, which in this occasion might be Blaze Destroyer. That would have been good if you can hide it behind Anangria. That would be game winning on their own. This deck list isn't honestly the worst that I've seen. Some of these cards are pretty great, but there are some cards that I will consider cutting. For example, Emilu is not that great in my opinion. You need to evolve to wipe board, and it doesn't even feel that good. You can just run another room card which does the same thing but better. Room Blade Conductor is a very big follower which doesn't do anything. I mean, it destroys 1 follower, but by the time you get it, oh, do you really need a big Room Blade Conductor? You probably lost the game. Snowman Army, I haven't played it myself. I've seen cases where it's played is a 0 play point spell that could spell boost another card. But in this list, it doesn't spell boost anything, so you could consider cutting it. Their Morning Call is really good. This one should be kept at all times. 0 play point summon a 3-drop that summons spell boost again is really good. And yeah, I'm still impartial to Starry Eye Penguin Wizard. Like currently draw is so necessary. So like I'm okay with you keeping it if you wanted to. A spell boosting 2 is really good as well. So but let's talk about upgrade options immediately right off the bat. Because I don't have the deck prepared, but there are definitely 2 cards I should be looking forward to getting. One is Kuon. Create. This card is really good as a finisher. Spell boost, Rite. Just get Kuon. Kuon is crazy. Kuon is so good. Kuon is like so good for Rune. You play him on 7, you're happy. You play him on 8, you're happy. You play him on 10, you're also happy. There's just no downside to Kuon at all. And once you get 3 copies of Kuon, then you can look to get cards like Dimension Climb. With this is starting to get into more support card territory. Dimension Climb doesn't do anything on its own. You really need a good deck to use Dimension Climb. It just makes your existing deck a lot better and more consistent. So once you get Dimension Climb second after you get Kuon. And that is basically the spell boost side of the spell boost side, which is still fine. It's not the best in my opinion. I definitely feel like there's better decks like this than this, which especially a Sword. You know, but I will say that it's a very easy way for you to win. You queue into Sword, you go Unangry on your 5 into William on 6, and there's no way Sword ever recovers. William is, in fact, right, screw Room Blade, Enemy Blue, or Blaze Destroyer, or Snowman Army. Just Unangry into William. You can pull this combo off. You win like 60% of games, I should say. This is obviously quite a slow. In this version is a very fast set. You aim to get like Blaze Destroyer or 5 or something, 5 or 6 or something. But like honestly, just Unangry into William. That wins you more games than anything else in this deck will probably do. So yeah, that's Spell Runecraft, and last but not least, I believe I have Earthright Runecraft. Honestly, if I were to pick a deck between like Spellboost Runecraft or Earthright Runecraft, right, I would probably actually pick the Earthright version. Simply because like you get Kuon. Well, it's not as good as the Spellboost version, like in terms of card quality. Although I would say Remy is a very good card, and so is Juno, and so is Otherwise. These are some really good cards in general, but like honestly, like it's a very tough one because they're both bad. For beginners, they're both good in their own way once they're fully kitted out, but they are very bad for free-to-play beginners. Like this one, you want Unangria into William, and that's so strong, or even Unangria into William plus Blaze Destroyer, that's game winning. I never tried that out. I have no idea how good that is since I don't have Unangria. And on the other hand, right, Earthright has a decent, all the followers are decent, but it ends on the guy. It ends on a guy, but it doesn't have any like true finisher inside. You know, it just plays good cards, and you're hoping to win from there. There's no particularly swing turn that is so massive that it will like make you feel like, oh my goodness, I'm winning. Unless you drop William on a fully deck out board, in which case, oh, it feels so damn good. But yeah, honestly, Rune is my last choice alongside Abyss. Like, if I were to rank anything, I'll just quickly give you my ranking. I believe that's the last one I need to go through. So, first, pick Sword. Second, pick Pixie. Third, pick Artifacts. Fourth, a tie between Dragon and Puppet. Dragon and Puppet are basically in the same spot. If anything, I'll say pick Dragon over Puppet, but that's personal preference. And then, in the last place, I'll just put Haven. I'll just put Haven, Abyss, and the both Rune decks in the last one because I don't understand them as well as I ideally should, but they all feel like to me that they are lacking too many legendaries for them to be ideal for a free-to-play player. So yes, that's my opinion and my thoughts on the temporary decks. If you're a new player, I hope this video has been of help to you, and if you enjoyed it, do leave a like and subscribe. It really does help out a lot. And with that, thanks for watching.